is the best takeaways from the Ultimate Breakthrough Challenge 2022 with Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins started off by explaining that this is a 5-day challenge that he has created to make sure that we can have the tools to create an ultimate breakthrough, so that 2022 is nothing like the years before, so that if you have gone through hardship, through COVID or through any recent events, that you can create a breakthrough to make sure that this year is the best year yet. He explained that life is about patterns. And through years of his experience, which is many, many years, he has realized that he can break down any breakthrough into patterns. And that is why he can reteach us these patterns so that we can create these breakthroughs ourselves and give us the tools to create them too. Tony went on to speak a lot about energy, because energy is so important when we want to change our lives, when we want to have a breakthrough. It's really difficult to change your life, to have a breakthrough, if you have low energy and the world is against you and everything is difficult. We have to learn how to change our energy, to be in a peak state, to be able to overcome our challenges, because nothing is really achievable when you're in low energy. But everything can seem achievable when you are in a peak state. He said that if you measure yourself monthly, you're bound to have a good year. And if you measure yourself daily, you're bound to have a good week, because those check-ins with yourself are so important. Also, when it came to energy, he asked us there and then, if you were to rate your energy right now, from a 0 to a 10, what would you give yourself? And on average, he said, usually people say a 5, but would you date a 5? Would you want to go into business with a 5? That is why we need to learn to change our energy, to get into peak state, to train that muscle, because energy is actually just a muscle. It's not about what you eat. It's not about sleep. Yes, those things can help energy, but that is not what energy is. He went on to explain, for example, with food, I'm sure you were bound to have a massive meal at Christmas, in December, Thanksgiving, or whatever you celebrate. But did you really feel energetic after that meal? Probably not. You probably wanted a little doze. You probably wanted a little sleep. Food isn't the main source of energy. And sleep isn't the main source. I'm sure you've had 8 hours sleep, as you said, and you were still tired the next day. So if energy isn't food, if it isn't sleep, if that isn't what it is, what is it? Energy is a habit. Energy is something that we train like a muscle. And some of the ways in which we train it is through sound and through movement. For example, if you are sat down, slumped, looking down, you're bound to feel low in energy. However, if you're up, right, and your chin is up, making more loud sounds, you're bound to have more energy. He went on to explain that this is not a phony thing. As I'm sure you know, I know, he knows, you can't just stand there and be like, I have energy, I have energy, I have energy. He went on to make an analogy about going into the garden and saying to yourself, there is no weeds, there is no weeds, there is no weeds. Of course there are weeds. It's not about saying there are no weeds, it's about actively removing those weeds, making action and changing these things, not just, blindly positive thinking. So energy is so important for the rest of these 5 days, especially because you're going to take in so much more if you're in this peak state, rather than thinking, oh, here we go again, or life is so difficult, or anything like that, in that low, lousy energy. Tony then went on to speak about breakthroughs, because obviously that's what this challenge is about. Breakthroughs. He explained that a breakthrough is a moment in time when something, the thing you want to change, becomes a must, not a should. We have so many moments in our life when we're like, I should do this and I should do that and I should, that we should all over ourselves. But a breakthrough is when that should turns into a must. And that's what he wants us to create more of, because it's when it is a must that's when we get stuff done. That's when we get down and dirty and our life changes and we move and we grind and we do. When it becomes a must, shit gets done, basically. He then asked us to think about moments in time when we've had our own breakthrough. He asked us 3 really important questions. What was the breakthrough? What made it a must? That thing must happen, that thing must change. What made it possible for that change to last? Now, these are 3 really important questions and I highly suggest you answer them. Let me know what the answers are in the comment box below. The 3 questions were, what was the breakthrough? What made it a must? And what made it possible for that change to last? Because the thing is, once you figure out that breakthrough, once you break down that breakthrough, you can break down another breakthrough and other breakthroughs in your lives. And as we already know, as Tony said, life is full of patterns. So once you figure out what your patterns are, or what some of your patterns are, you can make breakthroughs easier and less complex because you know what helps you have lasting change. You know what makes something turn from a should to a must. He explained that in most cases, for most people, it is pain. There is a pain that is unbearable, that should turns into a must. For most people, it's pain. 90% of people it's pain, 10% sometimes it's pleasure. He also explained that when it comes to lasting change, it's normally because A, there's enough emotion from that pain to keep you going, and B, because a belief inside you changes. Tony is a massive believer that complexity is the enemy of execution. So he broke down how to make a breakthrough into 3 stages, and they all begin with the letter S. However, he gave us these stages of least importance first. So the stage that most people try and make a breakthrough by is strategy. Most people want to break through, but they use strategy because they don't know how to do something. So they think to themselves, how can I achieve this? What is the strategy? What strategy am I missing? What strategy do I need to do next? And that is normally where most of our brains go first when we want a breakthrough. When we want something in our life to change, when we want to do something better or have something different, we normally think, how? How do we do it? However, even if we do figure out the strategy, even if we do figure out the how, it doesn't mean that we're going to have the breakthrough. It doesn't mean that we're going to do it. He used the analogy of how America is now the most obese, overweight country, and it's not due to strategy as to why that hasn't changed. People know how to lose weight, people know how to be healthy, but does that mean that they actually do it? No. So what is the next S for a breakthrough? The next S he explained about was story. Now, a lot of us want a breakthrough, but we have a story stopping us. Most people don't achieve what they want to because they have a story in their head telling them that they can't. He went on to do this exercise, and I'm going to do it with you. So what I want you to do is look around the room, have a look around your room and look at everything and try and find everything that is brown. And just, have a look around. What's brown? What's brown? What's brown? What's brown? And once you've done that, close your eyes. And now I want you to think about everything in your room that you saw that was red. Okay, try and think about that. And once you're done, open your eyes and look around and actually find everything that is red. You are bound to find more things that are red now that you're thinking of red and not brown. This is because your brain is always trying to find things that you are looking for. And this goes with your stories too. If you believe a certain story about yourself, money is evil, I'm not good with responsibility, I can never do this will never happen for me, it's never happened to my family, so it won't to me. If you believe these stories, your brain will purposely try and prove you right. Your stories will dictate your life. Like you are trying to find all the brown, you will find more brown and prove yourself right. Like they say, seek and ye shall find. If you change the story in your head, you are more likely to find the how to do it, how to break through, how to make that change possible. The third and final S, and he said this was the utmost important, is state. Once again, your state, your energy is so important because you are not going to take on the world in a low, lousy state. You will in a peak state. Once you're in a peak state, you can change your story, and then that story will help you find your strategy. And that is how you have a breakthrough. Emotion is created by motion. I'll say that again. Emotion is created by motion. Tony said the quality of your life comes down to your emotions. And here is why. Everyone has an emotional home. We all know someone whose emotional home is anger, and everything they do seems to come back to anger. We all know someone who has an emotional home of stress, someone who will always find something to stress about or worry about. What is your emotional home? Because we all go back to that home, and it's about changing that home to something that serves us. An emotional home of love, an emotional home of gratitude, an emotional home of resilience. We all have an emotional home that habitually and patternally we go back to. Emotional homes are closely linked to our stories. And the way he explained this is some people's story is life is always a battle. And if your story is life is always a battle, your emotional home is always going to be struggle, going to be fear. It's going to be hardship. Some people's story is life is a test. What would your emotional home be if you felt like life is a test? Some people's story is life is a party. Like, what would your emotional home be if you actually had the belief that life is a party? It would be a joy. It would be exciting. It would be, what would your emotional home be? Life is sacred. What would your emotional home be if you felt like life was sacred, or life is a dance? What would your emotional home be? Our stories are closely linked to our emotional home. What is the story you've been telling yourself about life? Have a think about that, because once you've decided upon your story, you will see that color brown everywhere. You will see that hardship everywhere. You'll see that joy everywhere. You'll see that whatever emotion everywhere. Tony explained that most of the time when we're stuck with a breakthrough, it's because we're only thinking with one part of ourselves. There is so many parts of ourselves, but we're usually only using one or two maybe. Tony shared with us a tool that can help us dig deep and connect to the other parts of ourselves that we're most likely not connecting with. Because when we connect with those parts of ourselves, we come up with new ideas, new breakthroughs, new thoughts that can help us change our life. The first part is the warrior. The warrior is the person who doesn't give up. The warrior is the part of you that keeps fighting. The next part was the magician. The magician is the part of you that always seems a new perspective. It's not worried, because magicians can change a frog into a prince and a prince into a frog. There's always a new way to look at things. It's not worried because it can always kind of figure it out. The magician has confidence because there's always a new way to look at things. The next part he explained was the lover. We all know what the lover is. The love inside of you. The love that loves love, the love that loves people, the love that loves life. And the fourth and final part he explained to us was the sovereign, the king or queen inside of us. The king or queen, the sovereign, is the person who serves others. The king or queen knows the deeper truth. Now, how he explained to use this in an exercise is to stand up, get in peak state, and for each of these parts of you, give them a movement and a sound and touch the part of your body that most resembles them. So maybe it's the lover, maybe it's the the magician, maybe it's the sovereign, maybe it's the warrior, whatever feels right to you, and give them a sound. And then what you're going to do is you're going to think of that thing that has been stressing you out. You're going to think of that thing that needs to change. You're going to think of that thing that you've been stuck on, and you're going to go one by one, and you're going to say, the lover says, all I need to remember is. The lover says, all I need to do is. The lover says, all I need to experience is. The lover says, all I need to think is. Go through each of the parts of you, and each of the parts of you will give you a different answer. Maybe some of them similar, but you'll be able to tap into those parts of you that you don't necessarily tap into, because maybe you're more of a lover than a sovereign, or maybe you're more of a warrior than a magician, but you'll be able to tap into those parts of you that will give you the ideas or the thoughts or the possibilities that you can use to overcome what you need to right now. Thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, found value or anything like that, let me know in the comments, subscribe, like the video, and I'll be back tomorrow with day 2.